Hi everyone, I've decided to do something slightly differently while showing you Pappy's tutorial. Rather than doing the 3-minute time-lapse version, which doesn't really show you what's going on, I thought it'd be quite fun to show you some clips of this in real time so you can see what the real tutorials are like. And if you do want to head over to my Patreon channel, there is currently a 7-day free trial. If you want to see the entire video, you can sign up, join for free, have 7 days, and then decide whether you want to carry on so that you get the videos moving forward so you can complete this portrait. So I think what I'll do is I will go forward to where I do the eye, as I think that's something really helpful. And then I'll show you a bit of the ear, just so you can see what we actually do. So what's going on at the moment is I'm just putting in the background. The lady who commissioned this, she loves green, so she wanted to have a green background. I sent her lots of different pastel options for this, and she chose this lovely sort of ocean blue. So I'm just putting that in at the moment. We'll go past this and I will just show you how I put the eye in. So what you're seeing here is a sped up version of about 8 to 10 minutes where I'm just putting the background in and you're about to hear the real-time audio from the tutorial. So I've got my 199 black and I'm just going to put my glassine over. I've taken the glove off because it's much more comfortable, and I'm just going to start to go in and do the eye. I've realised I may actually need to make the easel slightly higher, so I may have to just pause you a second while I do that because I'm really bending down low to do this. This easel was one of the best things I bought because it's height adjustable, and it means that I don't get a sore back anymore from doing different size pieces because I can move it up and move it down, so I'm not either putting my arm up really high or stooping down really, really low. And it's a brilliant purchase. So if you can get something that's height adjustable, it will make a big difference to your back. So I'm just getting in this basic outline of the eye. I don't want to stop mid doing this. And then I'll just change the height slightly. Just need to make it a little bit higher. Just getting in this basic outline of his eye and where the darker bits of the eye are. Yeah, I'm just going to adjust the height of the easel ever so quickly. Change the camera again as well, so hopefully you should still be at the right sort of angle. So it shouldn't have changed too much. So yeah, I'm just going in to get the blacker part of the eye in, just making a note of where the darker shadows are, where the pupil is. And there's a sort of a darker line coming over the top of the eye there. And then we've got that lovely highlight. So I'm going to go in with the white to begin with. It's not quite white. This is the 101, but I want it to pop. So I'm going to put the white in underneath the other colours just so they stand out a bit, because that's what will make the eye come alive. I can see purple in there. I can see blue in there. So I'm just going to go in with the 430 around the edges of this white. And it's starting to look a bit more like a reflection. This is the dark scene purple. And then I'm going to use the violet oxide just to blend those in slightly. And then we can go back over it with the white. And you start to get all those colours showing, and they look a bit more like a reflection because they're that sort of blurred out look. More blue in it, so I'm going to go in with the 430 again. Yeah, that's a lovely sort of reflection. Right, so I'm going to go in with the purple a bit more at the top since we've already got this sort of purple here. So this is the dark scene purple, and I'm just going to start to get this sort of shadow that's in at the top. And I'm going to go back in with my black just to accentuate these darker bits. Just make sure that we don't lose these. And then we're going to start to see the browns in there. So I'm going to go in with my 176 and just start to get that sort of brown tone in just around the edges of this eye. It's not going to be a single tone brown, but I just want to start to get that colour in, just so we've got the idea that this is a brown eye. Just blending in slightly with the black, going back over again with the black there. And just making sure I keep that quite strongly in there. And then I think what I actually need in here is a green. There's a bit of a green reflection in the eye, so I'm just looking at the greens I've got out around me. I'm going with some dark olive because we're obviously reflecting the surrounding that he's in. So you can see a bit of that sort of green tone coming across there. And then I'm going to go in with the raw umber, so these sort of lighter browns that I can see coming through. Just cleaning that off with the air puffer tool. It's much, much brighter over here. So I'm going to go in with the raw umber first. Circular sort of movements, just blending all these colours in together as we go. Back in with the 176. Continuously blending, just getting the right mixture of these colours. You want to sort of pick out where your lightest bits are and get them in so you don't lose them. So the 430 again, just going to start to blend in the edges of this highlight. And you want to pick out your darkest areas where they are, and then you want to start to work in your in-betweens. This is the green oxide, it's a bit brighter over here. And this is the burnt ochre. Just to start to get in this highlight that we're seeing here. There's quite a yellow sort of tone to this highlight over here. So I want to make sure that it's quite bright in the way that I can see it. I'm going to go in with the 103 as well. Very light, gentle pressure, circular sort of movements. Just starting to get that highlight in there. I want to go in and make this edge of the eye just a little bit darker. So I'm going to start to go in with some of the purple here in amongst the brown, just to get that darker sort of tone in. Just as we come up into this highlight here, you can see shadows, possibly his mum taking the picture. So we want to make sure that we keep that nice and dark there. And with the black there as well. Making sure that this side of the eye is much, much darker. That we do have that darkness as it comes round as well at the bottom of the eye. And there's sort of a lighter colour coming down at the bottom as well. So I'm going to go in with the raw umber, just to get that sort of lighter highlight as this curves round. And that's looking quite lovely. It's already looking like we've got those lovely reflections in there. Bit of raw umber again in the middle, just to join these sort of two elements of the eye together. And then redefining this black coming through here and up through here. More pressure at the top than at the bottom. That looks good. It looks like we're actually starting to reflect our surroundings. Just softening that out slightly with the cotton wool. And then just going back over this highlight with the 430. Get that blended in properly. And that does, it looks like an eye that is it's blending in with its surroundings. It's reflecting what's going on around it. So the white of the eye isn't white. It's a darker colour. So I'm just going to go in with the raw umber to begin with. And then I'm going to use the 704 circular sort of movements, blending those together. Maybe one tone slightly lighter. So I'm going to pick up the 700, just pop this in at the top there where it's a bit brighter. Quite hard pressure there just to make sure it shows. And then I'm going to pick up my black again, just to make sure we don't lose the sort of the rim of the eye as it curves up and round. And then over the top here as well, where this lovely shadow under the eyelid is. Perfect. And then you've got the sort of the eyelid darker shadow coming out from it, which I'll just keep doing with the black. And then the dark sin purple, where it's not quite so dark and you can see a bit of light reflecting in there. And then there's quite a dark sort of crossover here, and it gets a bit lighter underneath. That is about where the eye stops. So I think what we'll do is we'll fast forward to where I do a bit of the ear so I can show that to you. And then you can go over to my Patreon channel and see this entire 3-hour video. I think it's 3 hours and 18 minutes in length. So if you're interested in seeing the whole thing and you'd like to draw along with this part of the video, then do go check out my Patreon channel. And as I say, you can watch all of this in real time. And I also provide all of the reference materials. So you will get the photograph to draw from and the line art. And of course, I will talk you through, as I have done with this eye, step by step, everything that I'm doing. So I've just sped this bit up, and then we'll go into the real-time tutorial voiceover and we'll dip in and out of this ear. Highlights in the ear here. So I'm going to go in with the A19, just where you can see that sort of lovely fleshy tone coming through. Just to start to get in the shapes within the ear. And then I want more of a pinky purpley tone again, so I'm going to use the BE21 just to get some colour in over on this side. Probably tone it down quite a lot when we go in with the pencils. So what you're witnessing me doing in the tutorial here is I am just going in and sorting out the base layer. So what I'm doing is I'm using my soft pastels just to get that basic tone in so that I can then go over the top with the pastel pencils to create the details a bit later on. So what I'm doing is I'm building up my lights and my darks and the general sort of colour that I want to be achieving, because every colour that you put down will have an impact on the colour on top. So I will just speed up some of this, show you some of the pencils, just to give you an idea of the sort of thing that we will be doing in this tutorial. So once I've done the soft pastels, I've then gone in with a cotton wool bud mostly you saw there, and I have just rubbed that into the page so I can go over the top of it. And I'm going in with some sort of warm tones and some purples just to get the base of those sort of hairs and the direction that I want that ear to be going in. So we'll go back into the tutorial audio now. So yeah, as it goes down the ear, the greys get a bit deeper and a bit warmer. So I'm going to use my French Grey Dark just to start to get the idea of some of these hairs in again, like we were doing with the purple a minute ago. Just these lighter hairs that are going onto the ear here. Just want to start to get that shape in. So that I can get the basic idea before I start going in with anything too heavy like the black. I'm doing a bit of the opposite of what I normally do. I normally go dark to light, but I'm just going to do a bit of lighter, not my lightest, but a lighter grey, just to get some of the shape in before I go in with my black, because I just want to make sure that I've defined the shape properly before I start going in with my deepest blacks. These little hairs here that come out around the side of the face, they just curl over. So there's what's going to help create a lot of the depth here, because they're curling over the top of this ear. Now here you've got this bit which comes out and round here and up into here. So I'm just using short, sharp marks, medium sort of pressure. Do not press too hard. And then you've got some bits that curl out there. Just trying to get the basic shape of the ear in, and to do that I just need to see where these sort of bits that curl round are. In that direction. So I'm doing a short sharp mark and then I'm cleaning pencil off. So I'm turning it in between strokes, 1 stroke, 2 stroke, and I turned it in between, and then I'm cleaning it. And then what we're getting is the idea of some of these overlapping hairs. And because they're overlapping over the background, that will help with the three-dimensionalness and it just looking a bit more real. So paying attention to the direction in which these hairs are curling. They're sort of going round and then out, round and then out. So they're not all going in the exact same direction. So you go up, you go round, and you go curling into the top. If you did it in one straight line, it would make it look a lot flatter. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to the direction in which those hairs are going. So up and over here, and then up and over here. Just pay attention to all the directions in which these hairs curl. And that's starting to look quite lovely. Just get some of these hairs in, going through the ear as well. So it comes up through here, and then you've got these bits going up here, and then over. Starting to look quite nice. I'm going to go in with my 175, which is a nice warm grey. It's close to black, but not quite there, so it just gives us an extra dimension here. And I'm just getting in some very soft markings just to start to get these ear hairs in. Got a crease in the ear here, which I want to make sure that we pay attention to. So the hairs are all curling around that crease. And then you've got these lovely bits of hair coming in here. Again, paying attention to the direction in which they're going. You definitely don't want to be going in all sorts of different directions. You want to make them look natural, and by that I mean they can sort of wave off a tiny bit, but you need to have them all going the same sort of way, otherwise they'll all look weird against each other and it'll make it look very, very fake. So I'm just grabbing the black just to start to go in with some of those stronger lines in this ear, and then we can start to get some of the highlights in against the black. I'm going in a bit of a weird order on this one, but it made sense to my brain. You will find that you do things differently depending on what you're drawing, depending on the dog that you're drawing and the background and the colors. Different methods will make more sense, and that's okay. It just shows that you're understanding your materials and you have worked out what's going to work best. So if you are doing something independently and you do it completely different to how you've seen me do it, but it still works, that's fine. There are so many methods of how to use pastels that it's okay to, you do your own thing. And if it still works, then that's fine. Hopefully everything I'm showing you will just help you figure out your own little ways to do things. So I'm using sharp sort of quick motions just to get lots of lovely hairs in there. Get some going in through the ear here. And then you've got some much darker hairs down here coming off of the face. Paying attention to the direction in which they're going. And they're quite long, these ones. They're starting to flow off into the background there, but I don't want to go too far into the background just yet because they've got quite bright highlights on them, so I don't want to be shooting off a black line and then that turn out to be completely the wrong colour. So I'm just getting in the idea of these hairs starting to curl into the face. We're not finished with the ear yet. As I'm here, I'm just starting to get this shape in because these hairs are connected to the face, so it'll make sense to my brain just to see what's happening. And I'm using very light pressure. I'm just trying to get in what will be our sort of our base layer. I mean, we've got the base layer, it's like the middle layer, just to start to get the map in. Just so we can figure out the direction in which that's all going. And even having this direction in is already starting to make it look more realistic. So I don't want to go too far across there just yet. So back to this lovely ear. Just finish off getting my black hairs in. Make sure that I've got them everywhere, sort of I can see it much darker. And then I'm going to go in with the 724 again, just in between here with some light pressure, just to get some of that sort of fleshy tone showing in between the darker marks, cleaning my pencil off, and then just going back in just to get that sort of highlight through the black hairs. And going up into the ear here a little bit as well. Very light pressure, tailoring off as well as you curve round. Need to pick up the silicone tool rather than my hand. Just turning that in slightly. That's all starting to come together and look quite soft. Now, as I said, it's much bluer, much more purple at the top, and then as it goes down, it gets into those warmer sorts of greys. So I'm going to go in with the 704, just as we start to go down the ear, just in between these sort of darker hairs. Just get the idea of that sort of softness behind. Making sure that when I rub this in, I'm not going against the direction of the hair or the ear, because it will make it look very, very strange. I need to go back in over that just with something like the 175, just to redefine some of those marks. I've just been tidying up and I've just lost some of the softness there. And then it's got those lovely colours behind it. That starts to work quite well. And then I'm going to go in with the 724 again, just into the actual ear hairs up here, where we've got this highlight. Just to show that that is starting to shine in the light. And then it's more of a much brighter little tuft, so I'm going to go in with a 704 at the top there, just to get that little tuft in. And then a teeny smidgen of the 700. Just to show that that is much, much lighter there. Again with 724, just around the edge here as it curves round. just to show that it's hitting the light, because you want to show your light source. That will make a massive difference. And again with the 704, I'm just getting some of these hairs in as they curve around while I'm holding this, as it is that sort of colour. Just that light sort of pressure, just putting in any highlighted hairs that you can see. Go back in with the French grey dark that we used at the beginning and just start to tone all this in together, because it's that sort of in-between tone that will make all of these work together quite nicely, just to keep it all nice and soft. And then I'm going to go in with the violet oxide, just start to get some of these individual hairs in with a light pressure, just as it curves up round at the top. You can see a lot more purple in there. Tiny bit down there, more of the violet oxide down here. That's starting to come together. So what I'm thinking is I need to just bring this tuft out slightly at the top. So just go slightly higher up with the 700 there. And then I want to use the 700 just to get a couple of these highlighted bits of hair in, just so they really show. Really get that direction in. Just going in between those hairs. I'm going to go in with the violet grey as well, just in between here, because it just really does start to accentuate that shape, seeing all these little bits here. And then what we will do for the last couple of hours of this tutorial, we're about an hour in, there's about 2 hours left, is I will just show you in a time lapse what we actually cover and what we do. So most of my tutorials are released in 3 parts. So this is obviously part 1, and then part 2 and part 3 get released sort of a week later. So you'll get part 1, a week later you get part 2, and then the week after that you'll get part 3. Once you have joined my Patreon, you get access to every single video in my Patreon library. There is a library of videos on my website, so you can easily see what's available and access those videos from there. And you can join for as long or as little as you want to. So it's £6 a month. And if you only want to join for 1 month, that's absolutely fine. But obviously, the longer you join, the more videos you will have access to as I do more and create more, because there is a new full-time tutorial every month. So what I'm doing here is very much, it's the sort of thing I showed you on the other side. I've got the base layers in with the soft pastels, and then I've rubbed that in. I've gone in over the top of my pencils, always going in the direction in which that fur is going, and just creating the shape of this lovely sort of Chihuahua hair. This was such a gorgeous portrait to do. I loved the colours that I got to use, and especially having that green background. It's quite a good one for a tutorial because it's slightly different when you're having to layer all these loose wavy hairs over the top of a background. Because obviously when you're just working on the paper, you have a bit more freedom because you're not going to be dragging soft pastel dust around the page with you. So actually it's quite a good one to show you as a tutorial, because it shows you how to work in a way where you're having to think about the different layers on the page. So just going in there to do the other eye, and then the base layers around that, and then we'll be starting to finish up this tutorial. And then, like I say, we will come back in part 2 to carry on down the face. And he's got a gorgeous red bow tie as well, which starts in part 2, ends in part 3. So I hope you've enjoyed this and it's been valuable to you. Please do check out my Patreon if you would like to see more, learn more, and I will be very happy to help you. So I will hope to see you there. Take care, guys. Bye.